Hello there. Children often begin algebra with the idea of missing numbers, and that's something we can do very quickly and easily in 2Calculate. If I type in, say, 4 plus 7 and press equals, it instantly calculates it. And I could write in another number sentence, something like it could be 2.5 plus 7.5. Let's make it a bit more interesting than that, equals 10.2. So what we can do in here is click on the cell that we want to hide the number for, and then down in the bottom corner we've got these controls, and then we find them on this end tab here. One of them looks like a question mark coin. If I press that, it turns the cell that I've got highlighted into a question mark, like this. Now what I can do is, if I click onto the question mark, it's saying what's the missing number. So if I type in the wrong answer, it just stays as a missing number. But if I type in the correct answer, it will reveal it. So you could set a screen full of these missing number questions. Incidentally, they do work with addition as well as addition. They do work with multiplication, subtraction and division as well. But you could set a screen full of these for children, save the file, and then set that file as a to-do for the children. They could then hand their work in, and you'd be able to instantly see whether they've got it wrong or right by whether the question marks are still here. The other thing you can do is missing operations. So if I had, for example, 42 divided by 7 equals 6, I might use some decimals again here as well. So I could perhaps have 3.5 multiplied by 3.5 multiplied by 2 equals 7. So again, I could click over the operations box, click the question mark coin, and we've got the same kind of idea as before. The difference here, though, is computers don't have a divide button, do they? So we have to use the / key to get this correct. It looks like I've just typed into the box there, and you normally find it on the same key as the question mark, somewhere around your right-hand shift key. To get a multiplication sign, you press the asterisk. It's not an X, so you have to get the Shift 8 key to get an asterisk like that. That's not just something that 2Calculate is doing to make it difficult. All spreadsheets work in that way. And also, if children start using computer programming languages, they'll have to use asterisks and / for multiplication and division in them as well. So plenty of potential here for missing number and missing operations work, which you can make easier by using simpler numbers or harder by using more complex numbers, as you've seen here. The next thing that children come up to is quite often beginning the idea of formula, which usually comes with things like calculating the area of a rectangle. So if we had a rectangle which had a width of 3 and a height of 2, its perimeter would be what I'm going to show in this box here. So its perimeter would be 10. And we could change these numbers around and ask the children if they can figure out what's going on in the box. Why is that number changing? If I change this to a 1 now, can you predict what the answer would be? If I change it to a 3, could you predict what the answer would be? And so on. Which is asking the children to figure out what's the function, what's the formula, what's happening to these two numbers. And before too long, I'm sure some of them would spot that actually if you add these together, this 1 and 3, you get 4, and double 4 makes 8. So you could have a little bit of sort of deduction and reasoning work in it as well there. The other way, of course, you could do it is by clicking onto the answer cell here and then looking into the formula bar, and that's where it'll just show you straightforwardly how this is calculating the number it's displaying. Let's just unpick these formulas because you might not have come across them before. In a formula in a spreadsheet, the equals sign tells this cell that you're going to give it a job to do. And the job that an equals sign does is it tells it to do a calculation and show the answer in that box. Or in that cell, we call them. So this is saying calculate what is in B3, which is this cell here, which has currently got 14 in, and then add it to what's in B3, and then add it to what's in B4, which is the box with 3 in, and then add it to what's in B4 again, the box with 3 in. So that's how we calculate it, because of course the perimeter of the rectangle has 2 risers going up the sides of the rectangle and 2 widths going along the bottom and the top of the rectangle. Now, you could also introduce children to the idea of making that a more efficient formula or using some brackets in it. We could do the same kind of thing. So into the formula bar, I'm going to press equals. And then what I'm going to do is say, let's add those two numbers together and multiply them by 2. So I'm going to now click onto the box with 14, the width box, and you see it's automatically put a B3 here into the formula bar. And I want to add that, so I'm just going to press the add key. And then I click on the height box and it's automatically put the B4 in. I could type in B3 plus B4 if I wanted to. Then I close the bracket because I want it to do that calculation, and then I want to multiply, so I use the asterisk key again by 2. So I've got width plus height multiplied by 2. When I press enter, it calculates it for me. I'll change it a few times and we'll see that yes, it's giving me the same answer whichever method I use to calculate it. I put a note here saying, could we change the formula so it shows the area of a triangle? Yes, we could, of course. So to delete these formulas, we drag over them and we press the del key. Or I'm on a Mac at the moment, so I'm pressing the function and backspace key, and it's got rid of that formula. And let's just make sure we're putting the title for what it actually is here. It's the area of a triangle, isn't it, that we're going to be doing. So what do we need to do? What's the formula for the area of a triangle? Well, it's the width multiplied by the height divided by 2, isn't it? So I need to get some brackets in here. So open the brackets and say the width multiplied by the height. I'll type in now the B4 just to show you how that works. It doesn't matter if you use a small b like I did, it'll convert it for you. Close the brackets, and then I'm going to use that / sign to divide by 2. And there I have the area of a triangle of that size. If I change the numbers in here, it will calculate it. So I've succeeded in that. So again, there's plenty of opportunity. Once children get into this idea that you can program a cell to execute a formula, once they learn this kind of language of formulas here and get the idea that B3 is a variable for whatever is in this box here, so it's an unknown number, we're starting to get that idea of unknown numbers. So what we're really saying here is W times H all divided by 2. And it'd be worth exploring that kind of language to formula conversion with the children. Last sheet that I've got here is ideas about the nth term. So nth term operations are usually involve something like I've got down the side here. We've got our sequence number. So term number 1, the answer would go in here. Then the second term would be next to the 2. The third term would be next to the 3, and so on. So there's a really nice feature in 2Calculate, which I'll show you to do with this. But first, let's decide on the sequence that we want to do. Our first sequence could be as simple as we could just be adding 2 to the numbers. So in this case, what I'm going to do here is say it equals A1, which is its n number. Now I'll type it in. Equals A1. I'm just going to say plus 2. And there we go. Now, if I drag this down, if I click onto the answer and grab hold of the blue border and pull it down, can you see how it's copying that formula down? If I click here, it's saying equals A4 plus 2. So it's gone and looked into its neighbor box and is adding on 2. So that's a really nice, quick way of generating your sequence. Let's just color that, give this, let's just give this column here a color to make it look different to the next row that we're going to do. The next row that we do, we could make this one a little bit more complicated. Let's say that this is going to be times 3. Where are we going? Let's type it in. So this could be times 3 and then minus 4. There. So how do we do this? Well, again, we'd say it equals, and then we click on our n number, which I'm going to have to type in again, which is fine. So it's going to equal A1 multiplied by 3, and then I said minus 4, didn't I? I don't need to use any brackets on this because Bodmas will take care of it, or that's another discussion that you could have with the children. And then I do the same as before, click and drag it down, and there I've got another sequence where the nth term is times 3 minus 4. So in this video we've taken a look at how you could use 2Calculate to support children's experiences in algebra, right from early experiences in Key Stage 1 in early primary up to upper primary. I hope you found it interesting. Thank you for watching.